Felicia Romero, known for coaching all things health and fitness, is on today's podcast. She shares her passion to educate others on why loving and nourishing self within is the foundation before we may see any change physically. Let's hear her why behind self-love. Hello, and welcome to the Nourished Life podcast. I'm your host, Ange. This is your go-to spot for all things wellness, mind, body, and soul. We're talking feel-good routines, honest conversations, and guests who will inspire you to live fully and feel your best. And get ready to hear some saucy secrets at the end of each episode. It's time to get nourished. Let's dive in. I have Felicia on today's podcast, Felicia Romero. She is a business coach, fitness coach, partner, franchise owner of OHM Fitness, and you do dabble in real estate investment. Today, our focus is getting to know you and your journey. You have such a portfolio, and we've crossed some similar paths, not aligning at the same time, but we have a lot of similarities. You turned 43 this year. I did as well.
Yes, I love that. Actually, 40s have been my favorite so far. So obviously, I don't know. I have friends in their 50s who are like, no, 50s are your best. But honestly, like the 40s, I've really learned to like step into truly not needing the outside validation, truly trusting my decisions and my intuition and not caring what others think. I also feel like I even have taken a look at like the way that I approach fitness and wellness. Actually, it kind of began maybe in my mid to late 30s in how I even show up in my health and wellness. And I even feel like I look and feel better than I did in my 20s. So 40s have been really pivotal for me. I'm sure they have been for you too.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. I thought 30s were great because it was definitely getting through 20s. And then now I'm in my 40s and I'm like, okay, I get what people say.
Yeah,
Still room for growth, but yeah, it's been good. It's been healthy, I should say.
For sure. I know. I have a funny little story on when I was turning 40. I was turning 40 and we did like a quick like girls trip to Vegas, like 3 of my closest friends. And it's so funny because we did like the whole, like we got a JSX flight. So it's a little bit more of that private flight. And we did this trip to Vegas. It was like 36 hours in Vegas. And it was so funny because we like had like big aspirations for the night where we were going to go to a show. We had reservations for, a restaurant. We were doing all the things. And so it was so funny because of course, my friends and me, we do the earliest reservation for dinner. So we're at dinner at like 5 p.m. And that was kind of like, perfect. Yes, let's do 5 p.m. We had an option of doing the 7 o'clock show or the 10 o'clock show. We did the 7. And then after, like, I remember it, like right when we got to Vegas, I was like, yes, I'm turning 40. Let's get tattoos tonight. Let's do all the things. We don't drink. We're not drinkers. We can definitely have fun without drinking alcohol. But, we had some aspirations to stay out late and do some different things. And so after the show was over, we went and we watched a show at Caesar's Palace. And we were, it's a 7 o'clock show. So it was done by 9 o'clock. And so we were like walking back and everyone's just kind of like looking at each other and we're like, do you want to just go back to the room? Okay, yes, that sounds perfect. And we ordered like, takeout and did all the things. So that was like the sort of the epitome of like who I am, but also like I live in a way that's really authentic to me, but also, I'm in my 40 somethings now and I'm not staying out super late and doing all the things, but I had aspirations too. Ange.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I have good intentions to stay up till whatever to enjoy something, and then sleep becomes a bit more important to me and just feeling good when I wake up.
Oh, for sure. Well, the following year we did another, because my friends and I, we all like go all out for all of our birthdays. And I did an alter ego party the following year. And we rented a room at Maple and Ash. And it was like at least 20 of our people, their partners or spouses. And so I remember like, everyone's like, oh, tell us like what is your secret, being in your 40s? And I was like, I had 3 things, good sleep. So good sleep, that's a huge part of like feeling good. And I prioritize sleep. stress management. So managing your
Yes.
stress, having tools to manage stress, like breath work and meditation and reset.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one was like shocking for most people, but I believe it is good sex, right? Like having
Mm-hmm.
sex, having intimacy with your partner. And so those are the 3 S's I always say, like that really keep me young and help keep me feeling good. And so sleep, stress, and sex, those are the top 3 things that I would suggest.
I had just heard today, which is, I would say, part of the intimacy space, but 7 hugs a day is what is fueling for really truly happiness. And so that human connection and touch, if you're not in a relationship, you find it into those simple hugs, because it's just rejuvenating to the soul and fills you up differently.
I love that.
But I wanted to tap into your health journey, because as I've watched you and I've gotten to know you in the last year a little bit more, I've loved seeing another woman in balance. And you have come from a very intense fitness journey to where you are now, where you're advocating for short workouts, but it's doing a powerful thing. So just share a little bit about what's brought you out of where you were into now, how you found balance.
Yeah, that's such a great question, because I feel like it's one thing to talk about it or teach about it, like you can tell these, you can talk about it online on the importance of, not being extreme or not being all out. But I'm a big believer in, letting people experience life and what is meant for them, right? So like, for instance, I recently had a girl pop into my DMs thinking, like, she was like, I really thinking about competing. And just to give the audience a little context, I was a competitor for, gosh, at the pro level for 9 years. I started competing in 2014. And I turned pro at my first national show in 2016. And then from 2016 to, or sorry, not 2016, 2006, I should say, long time ago, to 2006 to 2013, 2012, I competed at the pro level. And so I, went through the extremes, and we'll get into that today. But, this woman jumped into my DMs like, hey, I'm thinking about competing. My sister, she used to do your competitions, and she said I would reach out if you have any advice for me. And, I think for a lot of people, they would be quick to be, especially if you've had a negative experience with it. Now, my experience wasn't negative. It wasn't positive. It was just like my journey. It was whatever I had to experience at that time. And so I experienced both ends of it, the positive and the negative. And so I'm never one to just talk someone out of what they want to do, right? I could have jumped in the DMs and been like, girl, you're going to mess up your hormones. You're going to you're going to like suffer from body dysmorphia. It's a lot of money for this hobby that you don't really get a ton of return. Amazing. You get discipline, you get to set this goal, but there's all these things that you're also going to experience. Now, I didn't even tell her that. I was like, hey, if this is on your heart and you really want to do it, the only advice I give you, like, make sure you get with a coach who is going to keep you healthy. That was the one thing that I really wanted to express that wasn't extreme, that could like make sure that you're still getting your period and all those things. Like if I could express that, but honestly, like, you do you, like, go for it. Like if this is a goal of yours. And so, who knows? And I see these women who have been competing for years who are really still stuck in it or still struggling with a lot of those things. And that's their journey to go through. I can only speak from my experiences. And so like with my competing years, there was so much positive, but the thing about it and what kind of led me to where I am now is living that lifestyle and living that extreme. It actually reveals to you what you don't want to do, right? Because you will experience a lot of issues and things that are going on with like your mindset and your body. And so from going to this extreme lifestyle, the all in or all out really created this catalyst for the binge eating disorders that I've had and like some of the health issues and some of the things that I dealt with mentally and the things that I had to heal. And all to say, and the only reason, going from that to going to where I'm at now, I needed to go through those things. I needed to experience that to understand, wow, fitness doesn't have to be that way. Wellness can actually be incredibly balanced, doing what you love. And what I really adopted these last few years, especially my mid 30s now to 43 is less is more for me, and really finding something that you love. And that wellness and fitness is so much more than how you look physically. And I didn't realize that until I was in my best shape ever, stepping on an Olympia stage, getting third in the world, and realized I was incredibly unhealthy. Even though coming out, I looked like the epitome of health. But there were so many other facets beneath the hood that I was experiencing, right? And so, so wellness is a very personal journey. It's an intimate journey. Seeking advice and looking for guidance from people that are really aligned where you want to go is important. And that it doesn't have to be the all in or all out mentality. It's not a, for sure you've heard this as well. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon, right? It's a lifestyle. And, fitness for me is part of my life, just like brushing my teeth a few times a day is part of that's how fitness and wellness is for me now. And so, it's been a long journey, and obviously we can go into facets of what the competition world had kind of created, but it also created so many positives, Angela, like so many positives, from magazine covers to the community and the friends that I've made, to like setting a goal and sticking to that goal and following through. Like, it's created so much discipline. I can't tell you how many women are in my world that come from a fitness background that have incredibly successful businesses and have brands online. And maybe they're not in fitness anymore, but because of fitness, they were in that spot. And I truly believe it's that discipline piece. Creates a lot of that for these women, and they're able to stay disciplined in other areas of their life because the background of fitness.
I agree. The drive, that you have to have that internal drive just to meal prep. I mean, I was in it from 2012, 13, somewhere in there. I did 3 shows. And for me, I wasn't willing to do all the extremes to get a pro card. That wasn't my personal goal. But I liked what I saw with the changes with the 3 shows, the 2-year journey, and getting aligned with, to your point, someone who is about your health makes a really big difference. And to protect the thyroid, I already had a low thyroid going in. So very neat experience. I wouldn't trade it. I learned a ton about myself, and most importantly, the food relationship of like, it's okay to eat fats and carb, all that. And so I wouldn't do half of it. I'm glad I did all of it for my journey. But many people would say, well, what do you do to work out? And, you can sit there and tell someone exactly what you do, but if they don't like to go to the gym, or they don't like to run or bike or whatever, that it just doesn't matter. So it's finding your passion and that becomes your journey.
100%, for sure. Finding something that's really just the lowest hanging fruit, right? And so like when we think of like movement, we think of exercise. And I was on a reality show. I don't know if you knew that. I was on Fit to Fat to Fit. And when I was on that television show, it was a reality show. It was season 2. There was another local trainer who did it with me, Eric Northington. And there were a few in California as well. So it was like, a national reality show. And what that taught me was this incredible amount of like empathy for people who are struggling with weight loss and their health. And so it's not as easy to say like, oh, just go out for a run, go out for a walk, like go do these things. It's not the tool or the resource that is the issue, because let's be honest, you can go on ChatGPT right now. You can go on and you can say, hey, I am a 43-year-old woman who struggles with this. I want to lose 10 pounds in a realistic and healthy way. Can you create a 60-day plan for me that is going to optimize my hormones, help me lose 10 pounds and be stronger, whatever the goal is. And ChatGPT will spit out the most specific program and specific daily habits and meal plan for you. Like, you have your own personal trainer right at your fingertips with ChatGPT. We can go online and we can Google how to lose 10 pounds. You can sign up for EOS or for a gym, and you have access to weights. You can get an at-home system. Like,
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why the U.S. is still like highly, for a lot of people, our obesity rate is so high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not the lack of resources or the lack of knowledge or information that we can have at our fingertips. Because again, walking is free. You know, some people may not be able to afford a gym membership, but we can go out and walk. Like there is so many resources at our fingertips. It is the lack of it's really the identity piece that comes into play. It's the piece that comes into play. It's the keeping those, you know, I think it's less about, you know, like sticking to a program and more about the self-betrayal that we have to ourselves when it comes to those goals. So, you know, what really created this empathetic viewpoint for exercise is really just finding something that you love, the lowest hanging fruit that you can stick to. But it's not always going to be easy, right? It's really this identity piece that has to come in, that you like really like sink into, like, who is this person? How do they show up in the world? How are they showing up for themselves? And once we kind of can hone in on that identity piece and start showing up as that person, it gets easier, right? And then until you no longer feel like you are not that person, because sometimes people feel like, oh, I feel like I'm lying to myself. I'm you know, kind of like imposter syndrome. Like, oh my gosh, who am I showing up online? And by the way, I see you showing up a ton on TikTok and Instagram, which is incredible. So people struggle with that. Like, who am I? Like, you don't want to listen to me. And so it's like, it's not that you don't lack, you know, the information or you're not able to show up. It's just the belief in ourselves, right? And so that's why I think so many people struggle with fitness and wellness. It's like they don't see themselves as that. They've maybe been caught in this story, in this timeline dialogue that this is who they are, right? And so we have to really change the story. We have to change our narrative. We have to turn the page. We have to step into who it is that we really want to be.
This episode of the Nourish Life podcast is brought to you by Cozy Earth, one of my absolute favorite brands for comfort, quality, and conscious living. If you're ready to upgrade your sleep and self-care game, you have to try their bamboo sheets and ultra soft loungewear. They're breathable, temperature regulating, and made from sustainable materials. Seriously, it's like wrapping yourself in a hug. I've been living in their all-day tea. Perfect for slow mornings, cozy evenings, or just feeling good throughout the day. And here's the best part. You can get 40% off with the code LIFE when you check out. That's right, 40% off of your new favorite cozy essentials. So treat yourself, you deserve it. Head to cozyearth.com and use the code LIFE at checkout. Now back to getting nourished. Goals I want, and then I typed it in and it spurted out exactly what I had thought, you know. So it, for me, it was a confirmation. For someone else it may be a kickstart. But yeah, you have to, it is like, why do I do blank or not do blank? And it's saying, I gotta love myself enough to say I am worth this healthy piece of food and a little treat. You know, having both. It's a rest day and a 20-minute workout, you know?
It's the and mentality, really. Like, it can be these two things. Like, I think, and I live by that every day. I'm like, I don't follow a diet. I just, I eat to, nourish my body. But I truly believe, like, the guilt and shame you feel over having a cookie is far worse than just like, just eat the dang cookie. Like, the guilt and shame you feel about it, and like the turmoil that you put yourself through, all that stress and that cortisol that you're creating is going to do far worse than just eat the cookie, enjoy it, right?
100%. So tell me a little about OHM, because this is a more I should say, I'm starting to see more of this concept around, and I have yet to take your class, but now that I have more time on my hands, I'm going to schedule, because I like the short and sweet workout that does a lot of work.
It definitely can also help runners or like people who are endurance athletes maintain and preserve their muscle, because as you know, with running long distances. It tends to break down muscle. And so we have a handful of endurance athletes that come in. I'm thinking of one specifically. He's actually our member of the month this month. His name's David Dodson. He does endurance type workouts, and he comes here for the circuit training and for the muscle preserving and building. He's like, he sees his Staiku, and he's like, Felicia, I've been able to build muscle even though I have these long runs, right? And he comes in 3 times a week, 4 times a week, sometimes with his wife. And so being able to see that. And so the reason I love EMS is because it really does adopt that less is more mentality, which I love. I've noticed my mid to late 30s, what was working for me in my 20s was not working for me in my late 30s. I realized that, you know, the 5 times a week going to the high intensity classes, I don't want to like throw any workouts under the bus because I love an Orange Theory or an F45. I think they're great.
Same.
And I think they're fantastic workouts. But just for me, I can't do those types of workouts every day. And what I started to notice was my joints were starting to hurt. I was starting to actually bloat. I started to feel worse. Like my stomach was all bloated. I was tired a lot of the times. And what I realized is, you know, my adrenals and my cortisol were being taxed, and my inflammation and cortisol levels were spiking, especially high intensity workouts. And so, you know, in my mid to late 30s, I stopped doing as much high intensity. I would do them once or twice a week as a member of Fit Body Boot Camp, and I loved it, loved the community. But I really focusing back to like the basics, and that's just weight training, right? Going back and slow and steady weight training, not doing supersets or fast sets, just really focusing on my reps and my sets, and walking for cardio. I have a gym in my house, and I would walk on my Peloton. It was great. And I really saw like awesome shifts in my body. And so when EMS was introduced to me, I didn't quite understand the concept yet. And it took me a little bit to like really become a believer, because I was such a traditional workout person. I was like, oh no, I gotta, you know, work out like 30 to 45 minutes, and I'm slow and steady and just, you know, building muscle. And so what I noticed with EMS is it was a lot easier on my joints. You know, not that I don't want to lift heavy weights, I do, but there's a lot of people who can't, right? Because picking up a heavy bar for a deadlift, you know, a woman in her 50s who's been dealing with joint and back issues, that's going to be for her, right? And so what I realized with EMS is it's efficient. It's more time under tension for the muscle. It helps build muscle. I noticed in a 3-month period of just doing from January to March, I did a test on my body and myself. I did 3 times a week EMS workouts, and I walked with a weighted vest, a supplemental in between that at home for 30 minutes on an incline. And I built 3.5% muscle in that time. My body fat went from like a 20, I think it was like 23% down to 18%. I put on equally amount of muscle during that time as well. And I also lost weight. I went from like, and I wasn't trying to lose weight, so that wasn't like a goal of mine. It just was a byproduct of the experiment. And oftentimes too, you know, when people do set out, you know, to lose weight, I wouldn't necessarily have that be like, let it be a byproduct for a healthy life. Let it be a byproduct for the action items that you're going to do. But yeah, so it was really incredible. And I was like, wow, there is definitely something to this. And EMS, I didn't have the same inflammation response as I would with the high intensity. So yeah, 25 minutes, 3 times a week, equivalent to a 2-hour high intensity without the impact. And so I said, there's something here, especially for people who really crave low impact or need low impact, injury prone. I just sold a community of people in California with MS who have MS, using MS suit because neurologically their muscles, they can't activate as well as like someone who does. MS. So like there has just been so many amazing, incredible benefits. People who, you know, don't love going to the gym but want something quick and efficient. And there's science behind it, right? So really, you know, it's an incredible tool. I don't necessarily use it as a replacement for my workouts. I just use it as a supplement and an addition to what I already do. And it's been pretty incredible.
I love that. And, you know, I can attest to seeing my body change and the impact. And so, I went through a season, I ran a bunch and did 9 half marathons in 4 years, very impactful. Then I pivoted into bodybuilding and did a season of that. And then I left that and running to that large capacity because physically it was just a lot. And I thought to myself, I want to do all these things when I get to retirement.
Yeah.
So what do I have to do now to create longevity on
Yeah.
my body? Because I want to live a full and active life to the
Yeah.
end.
Yes.
And, time goes so fast too, and you don't realize, wow, I've been in this intensity or this type of workout for 2 years now. And I have lower back stuff, being a hairstylist for 25 years, it's a lot of bending, a lot of standing. And so I'm learning to love my body in a different season, but giving it and nourishing it in the way that's still giving me results. And to your point, when you backed off that high intensity and you shifted things, you saw a change in the response of your body. And I can say the same, where I have more lean, toned visually than that bloating and swelling that my body's fighting to just be in almost a fight or flight or recovery mode.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just, it's like, well, why do I have this pouch or bloating or whatever?
Yeah.
I'm doing all the things.
For sure. And I know so many women stuck in that spot of, I am doing all the things, Felicia. Why is the body not changing? Why do I still feel this way? Why am I tired? Why am I so bloated? And oftentimes I take a look, not only at their food, yes, but I'm not a nutritionist, so I don't like write meal plans, but I give suggestions, or I can kind of take a look at what someone's doing. 9 times out of 10, they're under eating, over exercising, under eating, over exercising, 9 times out of 10. Especially women who are struggling with hormonal changes, maybe thyroid issues or autoimmune, or maybe they have been stuck. I'm telling you, I'm giving you permission right now, like, eat more and nourish your body. When I've chatted with those women, especially who are stuck, they're usually fasting in the morning. They're having coffee. They're having a bigger lunch, they're having a bigger dinner, but it's like that fast in the morning that's really kind of throwing them off. I love following the circadian rhythm. So circadian rhythm is really just when the sun comes up and you're waking up, like I'm eating within the first hour of, I'm nourishing my body, protein first. So there is even like a way in which we eat our food, right? And how we like the order in which we eat our food, from like protein, fat to carbs last. Like it really does change, and it will change and recomposition your body the more that you can lean into that. And so nourish your body, really nourish your body. And really, if you are having the hormonal shifts, the thyroid, the autoimmune, the adrenal, not eating and fasting will actually raise your cortisol.
Do you have you worked with women in perimenopause? Because I feel like I'm going to be honing into that space now that I'm seeing some of that first little tastes of perimenopause
100%.
And the hormonal things in there too.
100%. I would say it's imperative for you to follow the circadian rhythm of eating and protein first. Women in perimenopause, menopause, again, back to using some tools to help you if you don't necessarily want to hire a nutritionist or anything like that. But, look into the circadian rhythm and perimenopause and what that means. I'm also a big believer in carb cycling. So it's also a great way to optimize hormones. So one of the biggest things I like to look at for people who are struggling and those that are getting into perimenopause, menopause, is our blood sugar and insulin start to shift during those times. And I do think those are two hormones that literally, or two cursors that you could look at that really will change and be a catalyst for your weight loss. I just interviewed a gal, Lindsay Burwell, who actually would be so incredible for your podcast. She's going to be here on Sunday. And she teaches about how to optimize metabolism. And she said something so specific that actually really had me thinking. She said, Felicia, if I could just express to your audience to start eating like a diabetic, eating eating like someone who has diabetes, and that is someone who really takes a look at their blood sugar and insulin. She even wears a glucose monitor, and she recommends that people wear glucose monitors. They're inexpensive. They're something that can track your glucose and insulin. But those are the main reasons why a lot of people are not losing the weight that they want to lose, and why GLP-1s and peptides have been so popular, right? Not saying that everyone needs to be on that by any means. We don't have to do that. But if we can start really tracking and managing our insulin and blood sugar, you will start to see those shifts. And that comes with eating. You have to eat food, right? Which is why women who are in perimenopause, fasting and intermittent fasting, I feel is just going to cause more problems than good.
Yeah.
And it's
that's what my gut has said. And the more that I'm kind of tapping into this, the more I realize listen to my gut, because I think oftentimes I end up landing within range of what I should be doing, what's beneficial to my body in different seasons.
Yeah, absolutely. I found that every time I've nourished my body, I've eaten more nourishing foods. I've really stuck to the circadian rhythm, eaten more frequently through the day, those 4 to 5 small meals. My body has really liked that and shifted that. So if I could just express, nourish your body.
Yeah, I agree. And the other thing I had just come across earlier this year is a little calendar on different types or times of the month, week 1, 2, 3, and 4, of what those workouts should be like because of your hormones. And I was like, I can look back and say, that I feel more energized or more drained if I'm doing high intensity at different points. So it just has something to be said about there is a science. Our bodies are created a certain way, and it's ever evolving. We're always evolving and to finding what is best for our season of life.
Absolutely. I even think you can take it a step further. And if this is for your audience who's maybe interested in learning about this, and who maybe like this sparks something in you. I was at a girl dinner last night with my girlfriends. It's like post-summer dinner, like everyone's been out of town and in Europe and here and here. Let's get together, let's have dinner. So we had dinner last night. And it was so funny because as we're sitting there and we're just like talking about all the things we've been going through, my one friend, Alessia, she's like, I've been eating based on my cycle. So I'm in my follicular cycle right now. So I'm going to like choose something on the menu, like fish, that supports the follicular cycle. And I was like, that is so interesting. Like, what did you do? Again, I chat GPT'd it. I chat GPT and create a meal plan and suggestions based on my cycle. So, for women who are interested in that, like it's interesting to know your body, and fuel your body and nourish your body based on where you're at, and not beat yourself up during your cycle stage where you're going to be craving more sugar. Well, maybe you support yourself during that time with more fruits and more things that are actually like support your sugar cravings than trying to white knuckle it and say, I'm not going to eat these things. Your body really wants those things. So you might as well, during that cycle time, give your body those things, right? And so versus like trying to be so like, I gotta like follow this specific thing. Like, no, actually just try to follow something based on where you're at and support yourself on where you need.
Right. I agree. And I think too, I have a lot of hair clients that are in their late 40s, 50s, and 60s. And I obviously see their lifestyle, but they're like, I've just put on so much weight in the midsection. But I'm one to go against the grain. So I hear that and I say, well, I'm not going to do that, because I believe with the right support system, you don't have to have that unwanted weight gain. Will our bodies change? Yes. Like that's a part of age, but to just say, well, I'm here at this stage of life, therefore I'm going to have this, that's creating an already absolute for you that doesn't maybe need to be there. Which is, again, going back to how am I coming into this transitional space
for sure,
and what seasons I'm in. Thank you. But I always end every episode with something called Saucy Secrets. Ooh. So that means that you get to share something funny, embarrassing, just a little nugget about you that we can all tap in and
Oh my
laugh with.
gosh. I'm trying to think. I feel like I put myself in so many situations where I'm like, oh, I'll put my foot in my mouth. I do have something so I do, for a while there, I was like doing a ton of news segments with like Fox 10 News and Arizona Family. And I remember this one specific time, and I was like complete foot in my mouth. But I was meeting with Jamie Serrata. She works with AZ Family. It was a morning show, and she wanted me to put together like all of these meals and basically like meal combinations, like what works best. Like when you're eating a snack, let's say you have an apple, do you pair anything with that? Like, yes, I love pairing, a good healthy fat with that or whatever. So, I was going through all the things, and as I was talking about the apples, I was like, okay. And mind you, I have the mind of a 14-year-old boy. Sometimes it goes there. Like I will be the Michael Scott, like, oh, that's what she said. Like I literally that person. And so I was talking about the apples, and then I was like, yeah. And then you're going to want to grab a pair of nuts. And I didn't say like a handful of nuts or a bag of nuts or a cup of nuts, or like, I said a pair of nuts. And then I just kept on talking. But I didn't. I stopped and I was like, I just said a pair of nuts. And she's like, Felicia, we are on live air. And I was like, oh, you know what I mean? Like my mind went.
Yeah. In my mind, I'm like, at least you didn't say salty nuts.
True. And so I stopped, and I could have just kept talking, but I didn't. And then she was like, Felicia, we're on live television. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And then I happened to bring my now partner, husband. He came with me and he was behind the scenes, and I could see him. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I just totally put my foot in my mouth. That's a moment that sometimes I think back, even though it's funny, it still makes me cringe. Like there's no way I could watch a video on it, or like I still like cringe when I think about that moment.
Yeah, we all have those.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your cringe moment.
Yeah,
with us.
On my
Felicia, it was so good to have you on and get to know you on another level outside of just, in passing.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate what you do in your platform, and it is neat to see like other women just advocating such a healthy lifestyle.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. It was so fun, and I'm so excited for people to hear this. And thank you for having me on.
Yeah, you're welcome. And until next week's episode.